Pregnant at your age? That's just disgusting. And don't even get me started on your lack of education. You're practically a case study for a documentary. Who even drops out of school these days? Do you honestly think being a high school dropout and an older mom affects you? As my brother's wife, Ava, you really have no shame, do you? Do us both a favor and leave before I have to call security. I'm sure you don't want to cause a scene at your beloved brother's wedding. Ava, the bride, laughs as though she's just won some kind of victory, watching her dominant behavior. My brother, Daniel, silently gestures for me to leave, offering me a smile. Frustrated by both of them, I finally snap. Fine, just don't come crying to me later. What? You're such a sore loser, you old hag. Don't think you can take that back. I'm Sophia. I'm 38 years old and 6 months pregnant with my first child. Today is my brother Daniel's wedding. Ava, his new bride, just insulted me and shoved me out of the family's waiting room. I got married last year at 37, considered late by many, but until then, personal milestones like marriage and children never seemed important. I have a younger brother, Daniel, who's 10 years younger than me. When he was born, our dad was 42. And our mom was 35, a time when society was even more judgmental of older pregnancies. My mom always joked that we were both only children, so she wanted to give me a sibling. Dad passed away from an accident when I was 17, and Daniel was only 7. Our mom went through multiple surgeries and, 2 years later, joined him. At the time, I was a sophomore at an all-girls school with a strict hierarchy. For a while, we managed financially thanks to insurance money, but mom's illness meant she couldn't care for Daniel. Worse, family members, who'd once been supportive, began eyeing the money. One relative even told our bedridden mom, "You can't look after the kids, so we'll take them in until they're adults." So, I sold our family home and moved us to a new place, relying on people outside the family who were more helpful than our relatives. Freed from greedy relatives, I focused on looking after Daniel. Between cooking, cleaning, and taking care of my still dependent brother, along with frequent hospital visits, I had to drop out of school. Though my teacher, classmates, and friends offered support, the load became too heavy, and I made the decision to leave school during my sophomore year. Sophia, do you really have to quit? Why not just take a break? My best friend Emma urged, but I didn't want to leave things hanging. I chose to put Daniel first, at least until he started middle school. Around that time, Mom finally passed away after a long battle with illness. For the next 5 years, life was all about Daniel. Heeding Emma's advice not to isolate myself, I enrolled in online language courses and certifications. By the time Daniel reached middle school, I became a certified public accountant and started working through a temp agency. As I climbed the career ladder, I eventually secured a job at the headquarters of a well-known restaurant chain. I found inspiration in the diverse people around me, and their motivation pushed me to work even harder. My efforts eventually paid off, and I got married. Meanwhile, Daniel moved out for college and lived in a dorm. About 6 months ago, he texted me out of nowhere, "Hey, I want you to meet someone, can we catch up?" Of course, I agreed. That weekend, we met at a restaurant of Daniel's choice, where he introduced me to a tall, striking woman named Ava, a Wellesley graduate with top grades. Ava seemed impressive at first, but something about her rubbed me the wrong way, particularly her tone and outlook. After introductions, she casually asked, "No offense, but how old are you? You look a lot older than Daniel." "I'm 38. There's a 10-year difference between us, so yeah, it might be noticeable," I replied. "Wow, almost 40 and just got married? How old is your husband? Was it a marriage of convenience? If you and Daniel have kids, they'd probably call you grandma, not aunt, right?" At the time, I was already suspicious that I might be pregnant, planning to visit a doctor the following week. Her harsh remarks only made me more uncomfortable, yet Daniel, standing right there, didn't seem bothered at all. He was completely smitten by Ava and approving of everything she did. Later that night, I asked, "Daniel, you're planning to marry Ava, right?" "Yeah, that's the plan. I've already been thinking of introducing myself to her family next week." "Already? You've only been together for 2 months. Does that matter? Is there a problem?" "It's not a problem, but wouldn't it be better to know each other a little more before taking such a big step?" "Thanks for worrying, Sophia, but the bond between us doesn't depend on time. It's deep," Daniel said firmly. I couldn't find the words to argue. Daniel officially proposed to Ava, and they became engaged. Then Daniel told me, "Look, Sophia, Ava's family has some concerns, so could you and your husband please not come to the engagement party?" "What concerns?" I blurted out, and Ava, who had clearly been listening in, snatched the phone from Daniel. I heard from Daniel that you're expecting, Sophia. Yes, but my morning sickness hasn't been too bad, so I should be fine to attend the engagement celebration. But don't you think having an older, pregnant woman there might spoil the event? She interrupted me. Know your place, pay for the engagement and stay out of it. You really lack common sense, don't you? Stunned, I didn't know how to respond. Daniel quickly entered the conversation. Sophia, just transfer the engagement money to my account and don't make a scene. Fine, I agreed. He ended the call. Shortly after, I received another message from Daniel. When are you sending the money for the engagement, Sophia? Why should I be the one to pay for your engagement, Daniel? I raised you like a parent, but I'm your sister, not your mom. Daniel explained that Ava's family owned several restaurants. Ava had grown up in luxury, surrounded by wealthy people and celebrities. She often said, I can't match Sophia's level. He even implied that my lack of education was a problem for their marriage. If I convinced them, just wish me well and keep quiet, he said. Frustrated, I thought, if that's how it is, consider this my final contribution, and I transferred the $100,000 they requested. On the wedding day, my husband and I arrived at the venue, feeling conflicted. Ava greeted us with, It's disgusting that someone like you, an older woman, is pregnant. Leave before I call security. My husband tried to respond, but I stopped him. Ava went on, You two aren't even family. We should have told the staff not to let you in. Today is for work colleagues and friends from college and high school. Ava laughed, and Daniel simply smiled. Despite this being my brother's happy day, I wasn't going to tolerate such disrespect. Fine, I'll leave since I'm clearly not wanted here, and just so you know, consider any future interaction with you all completely off limits. No regrets. Okay, I said. Ava scoffed, Why would we regret it? Are you living in a fantasy world or something? Before her laughter even faded, Ava's father rushed over. Ava, what are you doing? People can hear you from across the room. Oh, Dad, meet Daniel's embarrassing, uneducated, incompetent sister-in-law. She had the nerve to try to attend the ceremony, so I had to kick her out. Ava laughed as she said this, and her father stared at me, clearly shocked. Wait, Ava, do you know who this is? She runs the staffing agency that supplies almost all the staff for my restaurant, hospital IT teams, and more. What's that? Ava's father explained that hospitality staff referred to temporary workers hired during peak times at hotels and restaurants. These workers help with everything from preparation to serving food and cleaning up, especially at Ava's father's restaurants and banquet events. So what? Ava said dismissively. Well, my apologies, Miss Sophia, CEO. It seems there's been a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding? No, there's no misunderstanding. Ava calling me an uneducated old hag isn't the first time, and you both agreed not to invite me to the engagement party, right? So you're just as judgmental as your daughter. Well, that's my husband, I said, stepping forward. What were you going to say after that? Regardless, we're withdrawing our businesses from working with your company. Ava's father went pale. Mr. Alexander, CEO? You're Miss Sophia's husband? My wife uses her maiden name in business, so you might not have noticed. We don't typically advertise it, he replied. Ava, overhearing this, shouted, Why are you humbling yourself before the husband of this old hag? Dad, we can always find another company to work with. The father explained that my husband owned the consulting firm Ava's father had approached. Ava wasn't deterred. So what? There are plenty of consultants. Let's sever ties with them. Ava's father looked even more shaken. It seems like it's best for both sides to part ways. My husband took my hand, and we walked out, leaving a stunned father, a confused Daniel, and an angry Ava behind. The wedding went on as planned, but afterward, a fierce argument broke out between father and daughter over Ava's treatment of us. It turned out that Ava's father had been in serious financial trouble. The main bank had connected him with Alexander, hoping to hire him as a consultant to help with his finances. But after looking into things, it was clear that the situation was far worse than they'd initially thought. It was a relief we hadn't taken on what could have been a futile project. My husband later mentioned, the bank was furious and pulled their support, freezing loans. Word spread quickly, and other financial institutions and suppliers followed suit, leading to the father's bankruptcy. Ava's father then turned his attention to Daniel's apartment, knowing it wouldn't solve all his problems, but it could help. When I got married, I sold my family's apartment and settled the remaining insurance and compensation from my parents. Daniel used his share as a down payment on a high-rise apartment, which still had 30 years left on the mortgage, meaning Daniel would be in serious debt if it were sold. This caused tension between Daniel, who didn't want to sell, and Ava, who pushed for it, ultimately leading to their quick divorce. Daniel later came to my office, tearfully explaining his situation, but I was so disgusted that I immediately told him to leave and banned him from returning. He is now also blocked from contacting me. Right now, I'm focusing on preparing for the arrival of my child, Emma, my best friend since school and my sister-in-law Alexander's sibling, often visits and chats about how excited the baby can't wait to meet me as she talks to my growing belly. From now on, I plan to work even harder to create a happy life for my family. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in the next video. Stay stunned.